Hi, my name is Jay Martin, DW Plays. Thank you for watching. We've got a game sent by Red, the Ghost Serpent, playing against a friend of his named Excalibur, who is right here. And these two have decided to play a game not just with artillery, but with the fixed rocket artillery, which is crazy, right? And it's interesting because people always ask me questions like, Jay Martin, why don't you ever play with artillery? And it got me thinking, watching this game. By the way, there's three of them. Rocket Troop, Rocket Troop, Rocket Troop. It got me thinking, why don't we like artillery? Note the 5 cav on the right over there. There's a certain really basic psychology behind it. Let's talk about the psychology of artillery. It seems attractive. It seems like a good deal. It's free real estate. They sit there, they do free damage at exceedingly long range, right? It's free damage. That isn't exactly true. The artillery units generally don't deal that much damage. And there's an opportunity cost. Every artillery unit you have is a cav unit you don't have. Right? Take a look at these guys. Something to think about. And then we break into two separate issues. The first is, and not really indicated by this game, but that artillery really encourages camping. These units generally don't move at all or very fast. So you want to stay around them, protect them. This results in camping. And the second issue is just kind of a feature of the game, is that whoever walks into range of the opponent first gets shot at first. Right? So camping is kind of an inherently valuable in the game, or kiting, maybe. We saw in the finals of our tournament lately, London leveraged a kiting strategy to great success. I think if you're the game designer, you look at this and you're like, this isn't great. We want to privilege the player who moves more, who's more active, right? And so there are some cases where mobility outweighs the raw firepower of the artillery, right? What's another way to put that? We want to weight the mobility of the cav over here over the value of the stationary rocket troop that takes no skill to operate. But if you're the rocket troop player, that still seems like a great idea for you, right? Until you get your ass beat by a player who leverages mobility. These 3 rocket troops are not 3 shooter cav. What you're kind of watching right now is the 3 shooter cav that aren't rocket troops leverage their advantage. Right? So that's kind of the question. You're weighing two things, the value of mobility versus the value of the stationary artillery unit. And I think the game developers did a reasonable job. It varies by map. But on a map, like this, that is flat and everything, the value of the artillery is going to prove to be lower than the value of the mobility. He's kind of hanging me out right now. The cab need to be moving. There we go. All right. So the psychology of the artillery player is very much, it's free damage. I just sit here and deal damage to you, and that's great until the mobility starts to impact the game. And we're going to see this now. And notice this player is very awkwardly trying to chase cav with infantry. It's good effort, not really going to happen. But the telling point, we have our 3 rocket troops, and the cav are going to make them pay. This kind of gets me into a second point, if we start talking about artillery's role in the variance of the game, this is a subject we talk about a lot. Napoleon has a lot of variance. Your units have an accuracy statistic. The Russians notably have horrible accuracy around 35. They're going to run into an old guard with an accuracy about 60. But for all of those accuracy coin flips, variance is relevant, right? An old guard may have an accuracy of 60, but it's still flipping a coin. Artillery add a lot of variance to the game because your artillery unit might accidentally snipe that general that's halfway across the map. It also might not. You don't know. But there's a big coin flip. One thing that we noticed in the tournament that we hosted about a month ago is that we had probably like the top 12 players in the world. And these are all guys who are like, Grassy sucks, we only play terrain, only Italian grasslands, that kind of thing. But when push came to shove and money was actually on the line, we had a ton of Grassy Flatlands games. Why was that? Because these are dudes that wanted to reduce the variance, right? You fight me on Italian grasslands, there's a lot of forest there. It impacts the accuracy coin flips. But get me on Grassy and I, kind of air quotes, think I'm the better player. I think I should be able to win a game against you on Grassy, right? So we had a bunch of players who are unapologetic Grassy haters picking Grassy a lot of the time with a bunch of shooter cav. Why? Because they wanted to reduce the variance. It's very simple. And I think those were good decisions in most of those cases. Right? But it goes to show that what good competitive players really want is reduced variance. Another way to do that is to cut out the artillery. That's why a lot of players prefer to not use it. Another thing is players prefer mobility as a skill check, right? So or maybe mobility is the wrong word, but positioning is a skill check. So if we can emphasize that in its ability to win games for us, then that's why we don't play with it. In this case, I think the result is telling. France had 2 less artillery. There's the 2 cav units that they turned out to be, routing the last rocket troop. Right? So the impact of the artillery in this game was overshadowed by the value of the mobility, which is how I think it should be. And then, and then if we get into a scenario where it's just Russian infantry against French infantry, there's not much to say. The French are just much, much better. Good effort for trying. And that is kind of my synopsis on why I don't play artillery games. The psychology of it is going to encourage camping, less innovative gameplay. If you're on a map like, I don't know, where you need to break houses down or something, then it's fine. Or if you're on Lodi and you want to bring 2, that's fine. But that's kind of why players, when they're trying to create the most competitive environment possible for this game, prefer to not use it. And you can probably count me in as one of those in that camp, I guess. That's why people don't use it. And if you're one of the players who finds themselves really drawn to artillery games, I guess I'd ask you to think why. Like play, if you're an artillery player, play 10 games without it and be like, how is my experience different? What am I doing different? Why did I previously think artillery is so important to my armies? And I'd be very curious about your answer. Very curious. But we are wrapping this game up. In terms of giving some advice to Excelsior, I thought you did really well with what you had available. And I appreciate that you didn't try to camp around your rockets. The problem is that you were kind of functionally... Your rockets really didn't do that much damage, and you were functionally 2 units down. And that is the 2 French cav that are still marauding around your back line. You might have had a fair game, but you started the game 2 units down functionally. That's kind of what happened. And, you know, good game to Red here, who had the mobility advantage and used it. And I think that's how these games are supposed to go. There's the deal. So again, thanks for sending me the game. Closing comments. If you want to join us on Discord, you're very welcome to. You will get the chance to interact with some of the better players in the world. Hang out, try to form a game. Something like that. I'll put a link in the description. But thanks for watching TV replays. Could probably get you a result screen here pretty quick. What are these musketeers doing? Are we there yet? There we go. All right. GG, gentlemen. And I will see you in the next video.